All right, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of a Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias, and today on the program, we're actually looking at the planned protests in the country, that's Nigeria. A group led by Nigeria, one of Nigeria's foremost musicians, Innocent Idibia, is organizing the protest against the federal government to march or to protest against the hardship, now quote unquote, that Nigerians are going through. However, another group decided to actually come up with their own protests to counter the Innocent Idibia-led group. However, is it justified? That's the question that we're trying to find out today on the program. But just before we continue, I have with me Wazani Jabani Dagala. Thank you for joining us and coming on the program today.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. We also have Olumuyiwa Mao. Thank you as well for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you, sir. Then we have Victor Bamishaye. Victor, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and then just before we started, Alfred Alfa joined us. Alfred, thanks as well for coming on the program.
God bless you for doing a good work.
Thank you, sir. But then just before we continue, Alfred, I know you're using your phone. If you can turn it, if you can hold it like horizontally and then change your settings. Good. All right, we'll come back to you just to get a sense of what you feel about this protest. But in the beginning, Victor, you came first, so I think you should start this conversation or keep this, set the ball rolling on this edition of the program. Do you think the protests, I mean the pro and the anti, do you think they are justified? Hello, Victor, are you there? All right, Victor, I'll come back to you, but Olumi, let me just come to you to get us started. What do you think about the protest? Justified or not?
Well, in a democracy, protests are the ingredient that keeps it going. I think we shouldn't be actually talking about justification. Rather, we should be asking ourselves the question of why it's coming a bit late. And if you ask me, I think this protest should have started coming 365 days into the life of this administration, when it started becoming so clear that this government in the final analysis might not appear to know what it's doing. So I would move beyond justification, and I will argue that it's coming rather belatedly. But as people do say, it's better to be late than be delayed. So I think that it's a good thing moving forward. I'm only worried that given Nigeria's past antecedents with military or anti-military struggles, in those days when we had the military in power, we used to see a very robust, vibrant civil society taking charge of this kind of events. And I'm quite puzzled and saddened by the fact that the civil society movement in Nigeria seems to be dying, or perhaps becoming more and more political. And that probably explains why this kind of a protest is not coming from that angle. But again, it's not also that important who does the protest. What is important is someone wakes up from his slumber, or people are beginning to wake up from their slumber and begin to realize that we need to put this government on its toes, and Nigerians need to let this government know that this is not charity, and the lives of average Nigerians or the well-being of Nigerians isn't something you can joke with. And it's to be put on record that for you to have taken a musician that much to call for a protest, it tells us that things have really gone so bad in terms of our activism as a people. And it also tells us that we might begin to look elsewhere for, in quotes, a messiah who can lead the struggle. While I do not agree that Two-Face, Idibia has a clout to lead a mass movement, we must also commend them, irrespective of what the arguments have been or are or were, that is doing something in the right direction. So I would say that yes, more than justified. Is it coming at the right time? I would say yes. Could it have been better if it had come earlier? That would be a yes for me also. So depending on how it goes and how well coordinated and organized the protest is, and depending on how apolitical the organizers can also be, I think the next few weeks or months, politically for Nigeria, tends to be interesting. So we'll leave it at that now and see how it goes moving forward.
All right, very well. Victor, let me come to you. What do you make of it? I mean, Muiwa is saying that he thinks it's coming at the right time, or he earlier on said that he thinks it should have come earlier than now. But then, what do you make of it? I mean, do you agree with him, or do you have a counter view?
I think there are angles where I agree with Muyiwa. Protest is the right of the citizens, and it's many times the platform they use to voice what they've been saying, probably in their private space that the government is not listening to. I've been a student leader myself, and I understand that many times protest becomes the last resort when we've tried to pass our message across and the administration seems not to be listening. And when you have a democratic environment, I would think the protest is doing more good to the democratic dispensation and particularly the party on board, because it serves as a warning to say you are not doing this thing in the right way, and we think you can change now. So it gives them that warning to at least be able to retrace their steps, and for a political party, if they can do well to listen to the voice of the people.
Let's hold on a bit. Patrick, we see you. If you can put one video off, that'll be fine. All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I think that if they can now therefore listen, it will do them more good than harm.
All right, I think we are losing Victor at the moment. So let me come to you, Wazani. Hello, Wazani, can you hear me? Hello, Wazani, can you hear me? Okay, Victor is back.
All right, so I think if they do well to listen, it will do them more good as 2019 approaches the corner. I am saying that in terms of the political engineering that the party themselves will want to. But in terms of the life of the ordinary Nigerian citizen, I think it's a good time for them, and no time is ever a bad time for them to voice out what they think is where they think things are hurting them as a people. So I think it's a right of any Nigerian to protest at any time he wishes, because government and democracy has been defined as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And so when the people
All right, it seems we're having a bit of issues here and there, but then, Sharon, if you can hear me. Okay, very well then. So let's go down a bit now. The reasons behind these protests, I mean, there's been a bit of confusions or debates back and forth.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, I think there's an echo somewhere.
Echoing?
That's right. Just hold on. Let me try and sort that out.
Okay, I think it's better now.
Okay, great. So, like I was saying, I mean, the reasons behind the protests, are they justified? Because there has been a back and forth as to whether or not these issues actually started today. So do you think? Yeah. So do you think these problems started today? Talking about the increase in the prices, the increase in the exchange rates, and thereabouts.
Well, the country has always been due for protests a long time ago, but we've never had it this terrible. It's been, I think, under this administration, it's been very, very terrible. And if anything doesn't justify the protests, then this current administration has successfully pushed the citizenry to the edge. And at this point, I think it is very justified that the protests start to take place because now we are more politically awake, because even people who have never been interested in politics have decided to follow through the process, the procedure, and the happenings in the political sphere. So now we have things at the very worst. We are at the very worst place in our history as a nation. And yes, the circumstances, the occurrences, and the monumental failure of this administration actually has deserved a very, very heated and strong and firm protests from the Nigerian citizens.
All right, Vera, we'll come back to you also in just a minute. Let's get to hear from Alfred, if you can hear me.
Hey.
All right, I mean, your beard tells us you are an Alpha, so I'm just kidding. Never mind, man. I know you're a bad guy, but let's get your own take. I mean, like Sharon just said, he believes that the way things are at the moment, yes, indeed, this protest should be going on. Do you agree with him?
Absolutely, I agree with him 100%.
Why?
Things has gone out of hand. The Nigerian masses, they are suffering beyond words. The students have been suffering, we have been suffering, and the suffering has gotten to the point, if we don't speak now, we'll all die. And the best way to prevent us dying is for us to speak. The suffering in Nigeria is amazingly, as in overwhelming. And if the best way we can, let the people in government know that we, the masses, we've been observing them for a very long time, is for us to protest. By protesting, we are sending a message that have been very silent for a very long time, and we are demanding for effective and efficient leadership. And I believe if we continue like this, by protesting consistently, the government in Nigeria would begin to be more people oriented, and the solution to our problem would be closer.
All right, very well. Patrick Imo, I also see you as well. Let me just come to you. I mean, we've talked so much about whether this protest is justified or not, but then some twists are coming on. The police is saying that, okay, you can't hold this protest because we have intelligence reports that there could be a breakdown of law and order. What do you make of that declaration? Patrick, if you can hear me. Yes, please.
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so first and foremost, let me start by saying that the protest is well justified. Any citizen of this country has the right to protest. It's a fundamental right of the people, and protest is just basically a way of expressing your dissatisfaction with the person. And for the police to come and say they have an intelligence report, I had read the news that violence is also justified. Could be true, not be true. A country like ours, Nigeria, where the government is built on so much sentiment and insincerity, it's possible the police are just coming out to say that in order to shelve the protest and ensure that that nationwide protest doesn't go as planned. Have intelligence that it could actually go violent. So also have an intelligence report that other groups are also planning a protest to counter that of Two-Faced. So it's justified for the police if they're coming from a reasonable and truthful standpoint to say, okay, you need to shelve this protest. As you know, concluding is a country where the government is very insincere and untruthful. So at this point in time, no one knows if the police is telling us the truth or not. Thank you.
All right, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, if they are indeed telling the truth or not. But then, Wazani,
Yes,
you've been here long enough. I mean, what would you say? I mean, he says the police is actually justified to come out and make their own feelings known, but at the same time, he's laying complaints as to the sincerity based on historical antecedents. But then, where do you place it? I mean, do you think what do you think of the protest, and what do you think about the police coming out to make the statement they made regarding security issues?
Okay. Well, the truth about the thing is, it's can't really know exactly what the true report is all about.
Sorry,
Because,
Mozani. Just before you go, can you bring your camera down? So you have so much headroom.
is it better now?
It's kind of frozen. Yeah, this is better. Yeah, great.
So, like I said, possible that security issue, because the police could, hear more information than we do. But at the same time, if you look at it, if you look at the core of it, that this protest is against the government, and the police are for the government. So the government could do by all means to say that this protest doesn't happen, because it's going to be it's going to stain the name of the government. It's going to stain the name of the government. Okay, there was a protest because of this, because of that. So if really that the report is actually true, that there's a possibility that there could be some unwanted event to happen, during this protest, then I would say, okay, then the protest should be on hold. But if there's a way that they can find the truth about this whole thing and know that, okay, this report is false, then I think the protest should continue, because Nigeria, it's not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. Things are not really going the way it should go, and the government have folded their arms. They don't even have the value for it. They don't even show respect to the citizens of the nation. The government just do whatever they want to do without even alerting or letting know the citizens about what is going on. So I think it's high time for people to voice out and say, hey, this is what we are going through, and we need the government to look into this. So I think the protest is one of the best way for us to bring the attention of the government to make them understand that Nigeria is going through, people in the country are going through hardship. I've been in Ukraine. I left Ukraine for some couple of weeks, and as a student leader, I know how students are suffering. Talk more of people that are back home. Every time we kept on hearing this, that, and this and that, this and that. But the government aren't doing anything. This is almost 2 years. So I think this is a good move. This is a good move. And I totally support the protest if at the end of the protest, the aim would be achieved. Then I'm really in for it. And but considering the police report, if it's true, then it's something that people should take caution in, because it's just, we want to have a peaceful protest. We don't want to have a casualty. That is my stake.
All right, Umbrella, I'll come back to you also in just a minute. Alekon, you've been here as well for a minute. If you can hear me, can you unlock your camera and say hello?
Yeah, of course I can hear you.
All right, great. Thank you for coming on board. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, calling from Abuja.
Okay, that's Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory. Very well then. Well, you're in one of the cities where this protest will be going on, both the pro and the anti-protest. But then, where do you stand? Are you going to stand with those who are standing with who are protesting for, or who are protesting against? And what will be your reason for doing that? All right, it seems we're having troubles getting through to Olalekan. Let me come back to you. Okay, so we're trying to hear you. I think your network is breaking. We couldn't get you very well. Yeah, but you can go ahead. Try on now. Let's see what goes.
But I didn't get your question. Can you please come again?
So I was just asking, where do you stand and why?
Okay. One interesting thing about this whole protest is the fact that people are protesting against government. But the fact that citizens of Nigeria, the beginning to you can ever partake in governance by standing up to talk to speak out. That's one of the things that you can do as a citizen, not just to sit down and wait for the next policy, whether it is favorable for you or not. It is a kind of a good thing to see that Nigerian citizens are beginning to wake up. We as citizens, we have our own responsibility to contribute to the growth of our society, and organizing a kind of participating.
All right, again, we are losing Olalekan. Hopefully, when he comes back, he would make his. But let me come to you, Mbolimiwa. The issue of who is who has the moral standing to lead the protest has also been one of the talking points or the flashpoints of this whole brouhaha, so to speak. But then, what do you make of it? I mean, do you agree that those leading these protests have or can or should be the ones at the forefront?
Look, Victor, what happened to separating the message from the messenger in the first place? What business have Nigerians got to do with the person leading the protests? For all I care to know, or for all I care about, Two-Face Idibia, the last time I checked, is a Nigerian. A Nigerian who benefited immensely from this country in terms of the support Nigerians generally have given to his industry, his music career. So, and when you look at it from the perspective of the comfort, in quotes, that Two-Face himself appears to be enjoying, he's the last person I would have expected to lead the protest. I am not convinced that Two-Face is at that very low herb that most Nigerians are, or Two-Face is feeling exactly the heat that Nigerians or most Nigerians are feeling at the moment. And for Two-Face, who isn't feeling the kind of heat that most Nigerians are going through, to want to lead a protest, then it tells us that the man is sincerely and genuinely committed and concerned about what is going on in this country. He does have absolute right, absolute responsibility as a citizen to protest against his own government when he feels that that government isn't doing the right thing. And he's got a platform. So for me, I don't really care about whether it is Two-Face leading or not. There is no relationship between Two-Face's past history in his personal life and his decision to lead the protest. What I am concerned about is somebody somewhere is thinking right, and somebody somewhere who's got the capacity and the mass, the critical mass needed to make a difference, wants to protest a government that is not really doing anything other than making noise here and there. This government came with very high expectations, and it's beginning to look as if this government does not even have an idea what it means to govern. And I have no apologies about it. We thought the Goodluck Jonathan administration was clueless. Many of us thought the Goodluck Jonathan administration was irresponsible in terms of the way it handled the affairs of this nation. Many of us felt it was a very inept government. I still hold those beliefs. I still believe that government had its own fault. But we are seeing the Muhammadu Buhari presidency, which is turning out to become more clueless, more inept, more irresponsible than the Goodluck Jonathan administration was. Look, whichever sides of the coin you are, I was one of the very many people who believed so much in this presidency, in Muhammadu Buhari as a person. And I wrote severally, I appeared in a number of fora in defense of the presidency and why it's the best at the moment then. But I can tell you the fact, 2 years down the line, that I'm almost at the point of regretting supporting a Muhammadu Buhari presidency. He has shown without remorse how irresponsible a leader can be. And there are no apologies about that. I'll give you 2 instances. The argument was that things were bad before he got into power. We all agree things were bad. And what were the things that were bad? There was massive corruption. 2 years down the line, when Muhammadu Buhari came into power, corruption still reigned supreme. We have seen over and over again key prominent figures in his government being alleged to have engaged in corrupt acts. And we have seen again, over and over again, a presidency that rode onto power under the pretext of being a saint-like, under the pretext of being anti-corruption, defending people who have been accused of corruption, even when you have glaring evidences of corruption against principal officers of his own government. So he cannot be pretending to be fighting corruption when he has simply refused to allow people who are part of his cabinet to be investigated. That's one. People have argued again that the treasury in Nigeria was looted when the Goodluck Jonathan administration was in power. There's this, those stole that. But for God's sake, if under a Goodluck Jonathan government, plus all the looting that took place, a dollar exchanged for 216 naira to 1 as the time was leaving, and we have a Muhammad Buhari presidency 2 years down the line, and we are made to believe that there hasn't been any form of massive looting, and then a dollar is exchanging the naira for 500 and something naira, or 507 naira as of today. Where then is the probity that this government wants Nigerians to believe it's observing? How can you claim to be less corrupt and things are going bad for your citizens on a daily basis and you don't have a clue as to how to solve it? And yet you want people not to protest. Who does that in normal democracy? And I've asked people, tell me what significant difference this government has brought to the lives of Nigerians. They point at just one example, security. But for God's sake, if Goodluck Jonathan couldn't secure Nigeria, it was because it was irresponsible. It is the duty and responsibility of any government to protect the lives and properties of its people. So if Goodluck Jonathan failed in that regard, that shouldn't be counted for a Muhammadu Buhari presidency as an achievement. Every responsible government must protect the lives and properties of its people. What I want to see is the lives of average Nigerians changing positively. I have family in Nigeria and I know how much I spend on a monthly basis taking care of them and trying to make sure that there's a bit of smile on their faces. But this money is, or whatever I send to them, is even worthless. It doesn't do anything again. And why explains that? Clueless economic policies, a political leadership that is not in control of its government, a government that wants to make its citizens believe that it's fighting corruption, yet it's doing the reverse of fighting corruption. A government that wants to show to Nigerians that people have stolen, but doesn't want Nigerians to also point fingers at the members of its own cabinet. We cannot continue to have that government perpetuate itself in office for a long time. People must rise up and wake up to their responsibility and say it and tell it to their faces that this must stop. You have a choice. The choice is to either do the right thing or to admit that we have failed and we need help. Until this government does that, I'm not really so convinced that it knows what it's doing. Clearly, from my indications, it doesn't have an idea of what it means to govern Nigeria. And it needs to be bold enough, it needs to be mature enough to tell it to Nigerians or say to Nigerians that we're sorry we failed you, or we're sorry we are failing you. How do we move this nation forward? How do you get responsible people who have a clue of how to govern Nigeria support this government? That's what I want to hear from this government at this point. I'm not an SSA to the president of media and communications telling us that those who are protesting or those who want to protest have not woken up from the slumber or from the loss of their candidate who lost the last election. How very irresponsible a statement can that be from a man who is a spokesperson to the president? To think that some of us who feel that we are paid about the way our country is being governed and we want to protest, and for someone who's been paid by taxpayers to say to us that people are wanting to protest because we have not gotten over the loss of our candidate during the election, is an insult I think that no sane person who supported this Muhammadu Buhari presidency should take. And I feel offended by it because I never supported Goodluck Jonathan during the last election. I supported the Muhammadu Buhari presidency, both in theory and in practice. And for Femi Adesina to open his mouth to say to us that whoever protests against this clueless government, this very irresponsible government, this very inept government, hasn't woken up from the slumber of losing the last elections, I find it very, very repulsive and very irresponsible of a statement to come out from someone of his character. And that tells you the thinking of this government. That this government sees anyone who voices against it as being a part of a member of the People's Democratic Party or a member of the opposition. Finally, let me just quickly drop this. When Jonathan was in power, we saw a Buhari, we saw a Floating Amechi exile protesting against Jonathan. People didn't say that they were doing that because they were in a position. People felt they were doing the right thing. So I think that this is more than necessary, and I think that shouldn't just be a two-faced thing alone. It should be a protest that should be held and sustained by the majority of Nigerians who have a future at stake in this country. This is our country, and we must get it right. And we must get back our country from this clueless leadership that we have unfortunately found ourselves about. Some of us unfortunately also contributed to, but it's good enough that we realize that we made a mistake. We must begin to correct that mistake now, and the time to do that is now. Thank you.
All right, that was a very long one by Olumuyiwa, but then we'll come back to you in just a minute. Patrick, if you are with us, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, so we're looking at the justification or the people at the forefront of this protest, to Innocent Idibia and EIE. I mean, how justified are they to lead this protest?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Oh, well, looking at the justification, some have argued that Two-Face lacks the moral standing, or he lacks the capacity to be the one championing this this protest. In fact, some have even gone ahead to say that he is being sponsored by some party, by the opposition party. Do you agree?
I disagree totally with that. Anyone says he lacks the to lead this protest, where are those who have the moral backing? Have they not stood up against this government? If you check social media, Facebook, Twitter, and the rest, Nigerians have not been into the streets of Nigeria. So Two-Face has deemed it fit to stand up, rise to the task of championing this protest. There's no reason why anyone should come and say he lacks the moral to do that. That's basically what I feel.
All right, very well. I'm sure you kind of nodded your head, but then I wasn't really sure as to why you did that. If you were disagreeing or even agreeing, you also put up this little smile. But then I thought we should just hear from you if indeed you think what those people are thinking or feeling, or you agree with them or not. So we can't hear you, Sean, if you can.
Sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, first of all, I'm going to start from the police statement, the purported police statement.
Okay.
Now, naturally...
If you can lean back, please.
What?
If you can lean back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good.
Naturally, every protest is prone to a violent beginning or end. Every protest.
All right, again.
Huh?
All right, so we lost you for a minute there.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, I said the police saying that there is likely they have an intelligence report that says there is going to be violence is like saying a fish swims, because anywhere there is a protest, there is likely going to be violence. Anywhere there is a protest, there is always likely to be violence. So now, it is the job of the police to ensure that violence does not erupt. Now, for police to come up and say you cannot have a protest because there is likely going to be violence is a statement to their incompetence. Is a statement in support of the violation of their oath to protect the country. It is your job as a police, as an organization in charge of the security of the primary security of this nation, to make sure that the protest goes peacefully and that no life is lost. If any life is lost in the protest, if any property is destroyed in the process of protesting, then that is a testament to your own failure as an organization. Now, I don't accept that the police should now say that a protest should not happen because they have an intelligence report that they have an intelligence report that there's going to be violence. Now, I don't agree with that. So that is just something they are saying for their own sake. And I have no doubt in my mind that they are echoing the voice of the federal government. Now, I'm going to move away from that and talk about the morality of Two-Face, who called for the protest. First of all, what is morality? I don't seem to understand it. A morality coming from, and I'm pretty sure that the only people who are talking about morality of the person who's spearheading this protest, the people talking about this morality are the people, sycophants, Buhari apologists. These are the people who are constantly talking about the morality of Two-Face, who has called for this protest. Now you have to ask, what moral standard has Two-Face violated? What moral standard exactly? Has he held public office before? Has he embezzled public funds before? This is a man who has, in his rights, built a successful musical career in this country. And there was never any, the only time he was ever involved in a scandal was about his personal life, and his personal life is no one's business. And as far as I'm concerned, he never ever violated any laws of this country in the process of building his career. Now, I find it insulting that some very unaccomplished people who we don't even know, would come out and try to taint the image of a man who has put everything, sweat and blood, to build a name. For some people, for some idiots to come out and say they have something against his moral standard is quite insulting to me as a Nigerian. I find it quite insulting. And you're talking about morality. I find it very ridiculous that the moral talk is coming from Aso Rock. Morality. We are talking about a cabinet filled with thieves. What morality? Morality from a president who once said that Abacha, who was one of the most notorious, who said Abacha never stole from Nigeria. We are talking about morality about a man who served under one of the most corrupt leaders in this country. What morality are we talking about? Morality from a man whose minister, Rotimi Amechi, has been accused of stealing, robbing his own state blind, with petitions filled at EFCC headquarters. Morality from a man who says GF was said to have awarded a contract to his own company that he admitted, openly admitted, and the same president wrote to the National Assembly to defend him. Morality? What morality? As far as I'm concerned, any Buhari apologist, anyone saying anything, trying to taint the image of Two-Face, is merely echoing the voice of their paymasters. Now, I don't understand, in America, for instance, if Jay-Z was to, lead a protest against Donald Trump, now, for instance, if Jay-Z was to lead a protest against Donald Trump, everyone would hail Jay-Z, everyone would hail Beyonce. If Kanye West was to come against Donald Trump now, everyone would hail Kanye West. If Swiss Beats, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne were to come out now and lead a protest against Donald Trump, Nigerians would be at the forefront of defending these people. But it is Nigeria. Some people have to serve a certain very, very undignified purpose. To what? To what end? Your future is at stake. Your money is being stolen. They are wrecking the future of to enrich their own pockets, to enrich the future of their own children's children. You're talking about morality. What morality exactly? Morality from a man who lied his way to the presidency. Morality from a man who ran 4 times, who ran since 2003 and had no clue of what to do to move the nation forward. That is deceit. As far as I'm concerned, that is just the deceit of the highest level. And I'm sorry, Muyiwa, I'm going to come to the people who, like you, who, supported. As much as I like to believe that people have their own choices, and it's fine. That is the beauty of democracy. But as learned people, as educated people, we owe it to ourselves to help each other understand in action or action of whoever takes office. Now, Buhari, as far as I'm concerned, most of us weren't born by 83, 84, 85, but records show that he never really achieved anything in his first stint. Now, what did you expect of a man? He was way younger. Back then, we were not, I think our population at the time was about 90 million when Buhari was president. Now, then obviously we had more money. We had access to oil, was doing very well at the time. Now, a man in his prime who couldn't achieve anything, even when he had more opportunity, what made you think that such man, what made you the impression that such man would perform at an older age in a more challenging world and with a vast number of people, twice the population he had when he was president, when he was head of state? So this was destruction, glaring us fully in the face, but most of us chose to ignore it, which is fine. But I'm just saying, sometimes, most of the time, we have to be very logical. Yes, I wasn't a proponent of Jonathan returning to power. I was of the opinion that APC were going to give us someone more dignifying to run against Jonathan. I mean, Buhari couldn't even hold a debate. He could never. The signs were there, but we all ignored it because people kept lying. People kept having amnesia. It's amnesia. Look at the track record. We are living 83, 84, 85 all over again. That's what we're living. Everything is down. Now, I keep wondering, how are we going to get out of this mess? How? Just how? The INEC that Jonathan left in good hands has been wrecked. So even if you plan on voting him out of power, how would you do that? INEC is now corrupt. More it was under Maurice Iwu. So if you ask me, this destruction has eaten deep, and people coming out to say the morality of who's leading the protest. What morality? Buhari led protests as well when Jonathan was president. Did anyone try to stop him? No. What morality did he have to run for to conduct a protest at the time? What morality did Tinubu have to have commanded a protest at the time? What morality did they have? But they organized, processful. No one tried to stop them. As a matter of fact, no one was killed. But every protest in this country since Buhari became president, people have died. People have been killed. We are talking about morality. The first thing that we have to talk about is the morality of the government that is trying to silence the voice of the people who put them in power. That is the morality we should be talking about. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if Abacha protest. This government has to know that enough is enough.
All right.
Buhari is incapable of leading the country out of the mess that put us in. He should go. He should resign.
All right, very well. I think Muyiwa was trying to respond to some of the things you said. Muyiwa, can you quickly just do that? You're mute, Muyiwa. Kindly unmute your mic.
Is that right?
All right, yeah, that's all right now.
Okay, Sean, very quickly, I agree 100%, well, 99.9% with all your submissions. What I do not agree with is that Goodluck Jonathan was a bad leader. Two examples. It is the responsibility of any government to secure the lives and properties of its people. He played politics with Nigerians and Nigerians' security. One. Secondly, the corruption that was staring us in the eye under Goodluck Jonathan is beyond qualification. And there are no two ways about it. Whatever problems a Muhammadu Buhari presidency has got now has its first cause from the bad mismanagement of our economy in terms of our general commonwealth that was looted under a Jonathan presidency. That said, that does not excuse Buhari from this madness in quote that we have going on now. If Jonathan was banned, as I did mention earlier in my introduction, and the dollar exchanged at 219 or 220 naira, and if Buhari wants to tell us it's good, I do not think a dollar should be exchanging at 500 naira to 1 now. So Jonathan was not an option. As at then, did we have someone better? I'm not so sure. And at that point, continuing with a Jonathan, because we wouldn't know what the future holds, could have been disastrous. And what seemed as disastrous? For me, I had no regrets campaigning against Jonathan. If I were to do it again, I will repeat it. My regret, however, is that the man who had responsibility, who had so much hopes and expectations placed on his candidacy, didn't live up to moderate expectations. And that's how politicians behave, particularly Nigerian politicians. You cannot trust them. He had every single opportunity to change the fortune of Nigerians, and every time this opportunity has presented itself to him, he's messed it up. That is not my problem. It is my problem and my responsibility to also chase him out the way Jonathan was chased out. And that's what we're doing now. So the difference between me and those who would continue to believe that Buhari is a saint is that I am not in any way emotionally attached to his capacity to make a difference. I am attached to someone who can make a difference in the lives of Nigerians. And that's what I want to know.
All right, very well.
Okay.
So shall just quickly respond before we move on.
Yes. Well, I agree with everything you said, Muyiwa. I agree with everything you said, except for the parts of the corruption. Now, this corruption that we'll be talking about are at most alleged. Now, this government has made many people believe, not me, that they recovered loot. Now, where is the recovery? Where are the records indicating the recovery? Now, for a government that people have accused of being monumentally corrupt, no one has been convicted of any crime. As a matter of fact, none of the high-profile cases that people expected are in court. Designing, who everybody rumored had squandered all the nation's commonwealth, Designing is working free. As a matter of fact, there's no pending case against Designing in court. Now, what corruption are we talking about? Good Luck is working freely. Now, did you expect that a man who everybody called the anti-corruption crusader doesn't have the guts to charge people to court? The best thing that the most that this government has done is conduct media trial, nothing more. We are all learning people. Let us all always deal with facts, things that have been proven, not hearsay. If the government has a case of corruption against anyone, they should bring it to court. Look at Dazuki now. What is stopping the federal government from charging Dazuki to court in the presence of everyone? Let us start from there.
All right, very well. We have to move on, Seun. We have to move on, Seun and Olumuyiwa. You guys are going back and forth. But then let's also respect our viewers on the YouTube stream. They are watching as well, and they've dropped loads and loads and loads of comments. Darlington Ike says protest is justified. Young Zamani says we need a better Nigeria. Stanley Ojielo says they have a right to voice how they feel once it's peaceful. It is 100% justified. Kanaya Onyeka says absolutely justified. But then if you move downwards, Jesus Udobata says Buhari must understand that we're not in a military era. We have the right to protect without any permission from any government. He said the protection of millions is justified. Akin Rahim says, as justified as this may look in the face of challenges, Nigerian masses are faced with the question, what happens next after the protest and all the protestations? Well, Mehi Ekato was asking how he could join, but then Mehi, that's too late, perhaps another time. Orbit Wave says the issues with Nigeria did not start today, but we fought hard to bring this government in place. The expectations are high. Unfortunately, there is nothing on ground to show things will get better. Moving forward, Chikuka Ugochukwu says the protest is more than justified. This is a government characterized, by a couple of things. Said nothing is working in Nigeria today. Well, they're just a couple of them. Jesus Udobata said the bag of rice is 30,000 naira in Imo State. A cup of gari is 120 naira. Nothing is working in Nigeria today. The protest is more than justified. Then there's just a lot more of the comments. Ehe Kato also says police is using the excuse to try to halt the protest. The question whether it's justified or not just doesn't come up. He says, and he's asking if we are hungry, and he's asking, are things bad? Should we ask why? Well, if he says if yes, then the protest is justified. A lot more comments down the road, but then we can't take all of them. We're about to wrap up now. Let me come to Wazani. Wazani, you've been quiet also just for a while, and you actually talked about the police issues, but someone on the YouTube stream is alleging that it just could be deceitful. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible that they're just trying to find a way of preventing the protest from happening. It's very possible, and at the same time, it could be true, because sometimes they say whenever you get a story, there is probably an iota of truth. On this case, I believe more on the fact that the police report is just a propaganda to yeah, and I wish and I hope that this protest would be held, and it would yield the results that the nation needs, and it could be like a step in reviving and bringing total restoration to our nation, Nigeria.
All right, very well. Let me come to Victor. Victor, Muiwa and Sheon went back and forth, but let me just ask, do you think the whole problem started from now, or it is like accumulation or an accumulation of from previous governments? Let me just put it that way. But just hold on a bit. All right, can you come again?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the fault a little that's in Sheon's argument is that he's making it more of a person than an institution. This protest, if it's to be against the person of Muhammadu Buhari, will be losing the credibility and the essence of protesting. It should be against the institution called Nigeria, and yes, the leaders of the institution will be at stake now. But it seems as though Sheon, and I believe some people may share a sentiment, will be focusing their energy on attacking the president. Now, take Buhari out of the equation. What is left with Nigeria? Will the problem will be solved when Buhari is out? I think that was the same problem people made by just attacking Goodluck Jonathan, which I think Goodluck Jonathan, in my own opinion, was one of the worst leaders Nigeria has ever had. But we should take this beyond our person sometimes and try to look at principles. For example, he spoke a lot about monies recovered. If you know much about the principle of justice, you will realize that monies recovered cannot be immediately injected into the economy. There's a process, and we need to become a more legal state. We need to become a state where justice, is safe. So what you should be talking about is quick and accelerated justice system where people cannot be bribed. We should be talking about that. And sometimes I feel, truthfully, that we focus so much on federal government that we give the state government and the local government a bypass. We don't even ask our legislators what they are doing, and these people collect monies that are for our constituency projects. I think so many times we focus so much just on the federal government, and I think fundamentally that the protest will be flawed if we do not demand from all tiers of government, responsibility from all tiers of government. So I think that we would have a flaw if we are focusing just on Buhari, because like the questions one of the contributors in the chat asked is, after the protest, then what next? The protest will end in a day. Let's say you get Buhari resigns tomorrow, then what next? Those are the questions we should be asking, and you'll find out that many times those comes not just on the base of one person, but what is our value system as a people, and how are we strengthening our institutions? So I think this protest should be looking towards strengthening the core value of the people, because the leaders will always come from the people. Then number two, let me come to corruption allegations. When we talk about corruption allegations, yes, in Senate crimes, when people are accused, they bring forth their defense or they resign for investigation to go on. But sadly, we do not have that in Nigeria. And when you look at the letter that the president sent to the Senate, if you really looked at that letter, there was nowhere he cleared he said that the SGF has been cleared. What was mentioned in that letter is that he cannot be convicted or he cannot be sacked on the basis of an interim report. So I think when we put sentiment apart and we look at issues for issues, and many times we find out that many times the issues affecting and plaguing our country is beyond personalities, but more on our failing institutions. And I think when I come to that place, I think the protest is justified at every point. But we should know, why are we protesting? Because the problem of Nigeria is more than just one person. It's about our value system as a people and the functioning of our institution, which will lead me to the question that Victor asked: did they start now, or it has been there for a long while? And you will find out that if it's the value system has always been there for a long time, and we really need to change our orientation to change anything.
All right, thank you very much. But then that's where we have to wrap this conversation up. It's been a long one. Thank you very much, Victor Bamshai. You joined us from Lviv in Ukraine. Alfred, we didn't really get where you joined us from, but you can just tell us now. That's fine. What did you say?
He's on mute.
Oh yeah, I just unmuted him now. Okay, just put that in the chat box. I guess we'll put that up later on. But then Olumiwa, thank you as well. You joined us from Dunedin in New Zealand. Sheun joined us from Nigeria's commercial capital here in Lagos. Thanks as well for coming on board. Patrick, I can't remember where you joined us from, but I know it's somewhere in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're correct. Joining from Eket in Akwa Ibom State.
Exactly, Eket in Akwa Ibom. Thank you so much for coming on board. And then Wadzani, Jabani, Dagala. You know, I don't know, I just kind of like your name. But it doesn't really sound Nigerian, but then you joined us from Sweden. Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, Wadzani, Jabani, Dagala is from northeastern Nigeria, from Borno State. But so I'm really trying to come around the name. But then thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having all of you on the program and sharing your thoughts as regards the protests that are coming up very soon. But then we also want to thank all of you who watched us via our YouTube stream and also made comments. Ehi Ekato, I'll get to you on how you can join our future conversations. But then thanks once again for being part of the program. It's been Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam, and I am Victor Matthias. Thank you once again.